Our guest tonight on the show is Andrea Cortez. She is a performer as well as a creator of sounds on a number of different levels. And many of those sounds are designed to be therapeutic. So we're getting a performance from her tonight. Hi, Andrea. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
So I'm really interested in the idea of therapeutic sound. There are definitely many sounds that have had therapeutic effects on me. I see that this is a large part of your personal mission. And so my first question is very general. What does it mean to you for a sound to be therapeutic?
For me personally, um, I mean, really, this question is actually could have a very broad answer
Hmm.
because it depends on really where you want that therapy to apply or how do you want to apply that. So for me, really, when I'm thinking about music and music therapy, and also this is what I was trained in and going studying music therapy, is understanding what the needs are and what how to apply. We need to understand what really needs therapy, what needs where do we want change to see change. And so really for music, when I think about therapeutic music, I think about, well, what is it helping and how am I applying it? Where is it needed?
And where are some of the places that sonic therapy is needed? What are some of the things that you think it's especially good at addressing?
Well, so right now, and what I've been practicing is mostly around music for relieving stress, music for helping to relieve mental fatigue, relieving anxiety, um, and also helping to use as a meditation as well. So this is the area I've been working in most recently, but my past work and training as a music therapist was more in addressing actually brain injury and working on rehabilitation of these sorts of things like speech and walking.
Hmm. And how do you go about designing a sound or composing a sound to be therapeutic? Is it more of a composition or design process? And how do you approach that?
So the way that I look at um, sort of, I take it's like I'm manipulating the sounds in music to create the right recipe, and we have to break it down into the elements of what music is. And so usually we don't really think about music in this way. I mean, we're not really taught to break music down into its elements, but it's made of rhythm, tempo, melody, scales, harmony, silence, pause, pulse, timbre. All of these things are creating the and shaping the sound. And all of them I can use and shape to create a more therapeutic experience for the listener.
I noticed that a lot of the things that you just said, not all, but many, are things that are relatively quantifiable, kind of measurable, things like tempo.
Yes.
Um, so I guess that would allow for a little bit more of I don't know, an experimental approach where you can say, well, if I adjust this way, if I adjust this that way, I can see how it has an effect on people, sort of dial it in that way. Is that accurate?
Yes, and so we do know that different tempos of music can affect us in different ways. And so there is a range of between 60 beats per minute and 70 around there that actually can help us to focus. So it helps us with our attention, which is
Mhm.
good for when you're using it for studying or something that you need to pay attention with. So um, this is also when we're playing slower tempos, this can affect our breathing rate, our heart rate. So if you're looking to apply the music, when I want to help someone to de-stress, we want to get into those deeper relaxed states. So of course, I'm going to play something with a down tempo, slower tempo, um, and sometimes I even, depending on what the situation is, I can take them from a tempo that's faster and then slow it down and slow it down because all of my work it's not really performance but my playing is all improvised, um, and I improvise depending on where I am taking my client
Mm,
or
mhm.
listener.
Would you say that you create your work intended for a more active listening experience, or more of a kind of like put your mind somewhere else and like let this wash over you kind of absorbing experience? What's an active listenership look like in your ideal version of this interaction?
So I think everything that I do, from working individually with people and to leading sound meditation groups, I'm always engaging the listener. So if you think about it, when we hear sounds in our environment, in our field of sound around us, there's always some sound occurring, but um, we may unconsciously hear it. We know it's there. So
Mhm,
we really, you have to bring your mind and attention and focus to the sound, um, to be to be able to feel and go deeper with the sound as a meditation. And so this is when we join both sound and meditation, you're bringing in those aspects of meditation, which are bringing your awareness, bringing your presence to the moment. So, this is really, really interesting with sound because of the way that music and sound works. Because if you have um, music, it's always flowing, it's always changing. The sound is there and then it's gone. And it's very much like how our thoughts are flowing. Our thoughts come up and then they go away. And so part of observing this occurrence is it's similar to observing our thoughts, observing the sounds, observing the notes. They're flowing in a very similar way. And
mm,
so the music really helps us to be present, and when we make that effort to listen, we can allow ourselves to flow on and unfold through time. It's so interesting because our music is really, it's helping you to travel through time and space if you are able to be there with it.
mm. That actually reminds me of you may know the Rolling Stones song "No Expectations." I
Mm.
always really loved that he says, "Our love is like our music; it's here and then it's gone."
Ah, yes.
The idea that all of it is, sort of any human experience is just sort of something that exists when it exists
Yes.
and
Yes.
passes away.
And that's what's so beautiful too. And these ideas in meditation from Eastern traditions are about this being able to not hold on to anything in particular, but allow it to go and be able to observe and be there in that, without holding on to any particular feeling, emotion, or thing or thought. Um, and that's, yeah, that's the characteristic of music and sound.
Hmm. How does that relate to repetition?
Um, with repetition, when I think of repetition, I think of more of like brain entrainment for helping people to get into a state that's can be more actually trance-like, and relaxed state. That repetition helps. So when I'm playing, I mean, I don't necessarily like have that happening the whole time. So in the course of let's say an individual session I'm doing or a group, I flow through different elements of sound. So maybe in the beginning, I'm really creating a drone that's really just bringing people present, because I also I play the singing bowls, which are great drone instruments. So any way you can bring a drone sound in, that really helps to engage and bring someone present. Um, and then bringing different elements, bringing repetition in there somewhere, or bringing in melody or something like a scale that is, if you want to make it emotive and bring up emotion, you can add that element in. So it's really like shaping the whole experience, and there's nothing really that it's ever for me and what I'm creating the same the whole time.
Mm-hmm. So, tell me about your intention with your performance on the show today. Is it designed around being a therapeutic experience? Is it a performance in a more traditional sense? Are those things different from each other?
So for me personally, I've never really felt like a performer in in the sense of like I'm entertaining.
Hmm.
Um, I think just because I have such a deep connection with music and I always have that I feel like there's so much there that it's not just entertainment. Like it connects me to me. It connects me to who I am, and I know that it does that for others.
Hmm.
So I would say in general that when I play, I like to think of it of creating a space for the listener. Now that the goal and intention is always different, but for this evening of playing, I wouldn't say it's like I'm doing therapy, but I would say that I'm creating a restorative listening space. So what we listen to really can affect us, and this goes beyond music. We listen to things on the news. We listen to words and speech of people. All of this can affect our mood and our emotional state. So if we can tune into something that is positive, that is relaxing for us, that can be restorative for us, then we are changing and shifting ourselves. It's a form of self-care too. This is it's to shift us into a state that is beneficial.
Hmm. You have a piece, The Secret Songs of Plants, or a work,
Mhm.
and the description of it says that it involves plant generated sounds. How do you generate plant sounds? And is the use of plant generated sounds related to how that sound is therapeutic?
So my work with plants is pretty recent, and I came across a device called Mini Sprout. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I haven't.
So it's a device that detects the electrical energy in the plant. So it has sensors that go onto the leaves of the plant, and then it has like a sticky substance. So it's kind of like um, just picking, it's detecting the electricity in the plant, the bioelectric energy in the plant. So we have energy and electricity running through us. So does the plant. All living things do. And this device just sticks onto the leaves, and it runs through a software on my computer, which translates that activity into sounds. So the plant will change its sounds depending on changes in its environment. So if I touch the plant, it responds. If the wind is blowing, it responds. It responds to light, responds to being watered. Really, you can hear audio feedback in real time. Well, and that's really interesting because it, for me, it feels like a connection to the plant, and it's um, also a bigger idea of just our connection to nature. So my work with the plant music is really, for me, it's a idea for us to consider these connections that are there between us and nature. And when I play with this and create sounds with this, you're hearing the connection. And I think for us, it's important to remember that we are part of nature, and this in itself is therapeutic. That's the the therapeutic aspect. You feel better when you go out in nature and you spend time, connecting in that way. So
Mhm. From a tech nerd perspective, you said that the plant thing is MIDI. What
yeah.
what MIDI data are you getting off of that? Is that like a series of CC values? Are you getting notes? Are you
So
using sound to affect timbre or compose?
so this I haven't reprogrammed the sounds for this plant. So I mean, if I once I learned Ableton and stuff like that, I could like make my own sounds from the plant. But right now, I am using what has been already programmed as a template for sounds, so it can choose from different pitches and duration of sounds. So, and I notice like different things, like some plants have lower pitches uh, when they have a bigger base and more soil. And I
Seems
noticed,
intuitive.
yeah, and I noticed that if I like blow on the plant, I know that's weird, but it responds to that and it has like higher pitches coming out, like little sparkly sounds.
Oh wow, that's incredible.
So yeah, it's fun.
So, instruments and sparkly sounds. Speaking of, your primary instrument is the harp, right?
Yes.
How, what's the connection between that and therapeutic sound? How did you end up playing the harp? Which came first? Is the harp an especially therapeutic instrument in your view?
I really think it is. I mean, it definitely has a history of it. You look at so many different cultures around the world and they have some kind of harp. Um, there's a Chinese harp that lays flat that is really connected to Taoism and meditation and this sort of thing. And then there's harps all in so many different musical traditions. The harp that I use is a lever harp. It's a dusty strings lever harp. It's not a pedal harp. It's pretty easy, compact to carry around. Um, but because the strings have are open on both sides, like with the guitar, you have the body, but with the harp, you have open space, and that makes it so resonant. So when I play the harp, I hear a lot of different overtones. The harmonics and overtones are very present in the sounds more than other instruments.
I guess you're hearing more of what's coming directly off the string as opposed to what's amplified by a hollow body. I don't know. I don't.
Yeah,
I'm not an acoustic scientist.
yeah, I think I mean yeah. There's no barrier around the strings.
Hmm. Here's a kind of funny question. Are there any sounds in your day-to-day life that you especially love? Something that you hear and you're like, ah, I love the sound of, I don't know, water pouring in a glass or anything else. Any sounds that you feel a special affection for?
I have two sounds that come to mind, and one is kind of weird, but the first one is the sound of the wind rustling through the leaves in the trees. I
Hmm.
love that. I think I'm just really connected to the wind element.
Yeah.
Um, I love that. But the other sound is kind of weird. I don't know if you know about ASMR, but there's like sounds that can trigger these relaxation responses. And I heard the sound of a bunny chomping on lettuce, and it's I love it. I don't know why, but it makes me happy. So it's not necessarily something that's relaxing me, but it's very happy to me.
A sound with a very positive effect.
Chewing sounds, yes.
Is the emergence of the popularity of ASMR something that has influenced you as a therapeutic sound designer? And what do you think of ASMR in general? Do you think it's trying to accomplish some of the same things that you're doing, or is it a different fork? Uh, any comment on any of that?
Yeah, I think that it is trying to accomplish something in that what we take in through our ears, it affects our nervous system, and so I think it's an effect on the nervous system. So we want to create um, feelings where we feel like relief, letting go, relax. So I think that's the intent for that. Um, and I don't know that it's really influenced my playing in particular. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure talking to you about all these topics.
Yes, thank you.
Uh, cool.